Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Voices of the Vic podcast with myself, Joe Thomas. Tonight we are here, as I'm sure all Watford fans have seen today. There is news that Tom Cleverley is going to be on his way out the door, whether that be before the Coventry game or after the Coventry game. We're not 100% certain. It seems that he's probably going to get the weekend before it happens. But we are here nonetheless, as I say, to discuss it. Obviously, all your comments are appreciated. I know there's probably going to be a lot this evening, so we will do our very best to get through them all. But tonight I'm joined by Caity and Ben, and as I say, we're going to go through this terrible news. First of all, Caity, obviously, I know you weren't at the game the other night, so I didn't see you, but how are you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I was all right up until today. Honestly, the news has been so deflating, as I probably speak for everyone. Like, I think there's an element of anger, but there really is an element of sadness. Obviously, everyone feels very strongly about the club and about Tom Cleverley, but there is an element of sadness. And I still feel really upset. And I think, if he is in charge of that Coventry game and we see him, it's going to be really emotional. But obviously, we'll get into that, but it's been really hard today just with the news. I think it's come as a complete shock to everyone.
Yeah, it is a shock, and like you say, if Tom is in charge at the weekend, it's going to be a really sort of sad day potentially. Obviously, fans are going to be voicing their opinions, I'm sure, and singing his name throughout the 90 minutes. So yeah, and Ben, I'll come to you. Obviously, I saw you on Tuesday. It was great to catch up with you and see you briefly at half-time. Obviously, shame about the result, but good to catch up. But how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, no, honestly, one of the highlights of my week, mate, seeing you. It's been shit for me lately. So first game back for me at the Vic since the 2-1 win over West Brom. Jesus, that feels so long ago, by the way. Really good performance, players playing for the manager. What a different atmosphere it was then to what it is now. So yeah, I'm as well as I can be. Kate had another round of treatment today, which is good. She's upstairs sleeping it off now. But yeah, all good on my side, mate. Hope you're well as well. So I'm looking forward to talking everything Watford and another emergency podcast. They're difficult to discuss, but there's a lot we need to get off our chest tonight, and I think we're all strongly aligned with everyone else in the fan base as well, and we want to get that across to everyone tonight. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I see we've got loads of comments and people watching as well, so I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and like you say, I think all fans are going to kind of be singing from the same hymn sheet on this one. I think I was listening to the "Do Not Scratch Your Eyes" space on Twitter, and it was great to hear everyone's opinions there and of what they wanted to do. And there's some really good suggestions, and hopefully as podcasters and fans, we can kind of all come together and come up with something to I think protest and do it the right way and voice our opinions, because it can't happen. And obviously we're all gutted by the news. Obviously we're in a position at the moment. I'll come to you, Caity. Obviously we've got we played 28 games, 41 points, playoffs 42. We're 1 point off the playoffs. It is shocking to think that Gino, when he's not given Tom any money to spend, and the signings that have been made in the summer have been complete and utter dog shit. Obviously, one thing being that was pointed out earlier, that Tikvich apparently was given a 4-year deal that was never mentioned. Nani came out and said, apologies, we didn't mention that. Clearly another dodgy deal behind the scenes. Obviously, the Jefferson, Caity, all these, Kirkley Duomo, obviously not his fault, he's injured, but all these players have come through the door. We've had injuries. Things haven't been great. Tom's doing the best he can with the squad. What is he expecting? We're never going to be top with the squad that the teams at the top have got, like Leeds and Sunderland, Burnley, that are doing well. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think as well, obviously we're on we have been losing games, but it doesn't take away the job that Tom Cleverley's been doing. And I do think that, it's incredibly reactionary from him to do that, and it makes me think maybe there was a disagreement behind closed doors, like with money, with players coming in. It's obvious. You can see when Tom speaks in his press conferences, in his interviews, he's screaming for signings. And I just don't think that Gino likes that. And he doesn't like that Cleverley's got so much backing from the fans, because it makes him, like, it paints him in a bad light. If you ask any Watford fan, they would not say that Tom Cleverley should be sacked, regardless of even if we survived relegation this season. I think he should have stayed, because with the team that we have and the squad that we have, honestly, anything above relegation is probably good enough for me. I cannot see the logic behind sacking him. Someone who is loved by the fans, someone who has finally built that connection between fans, players, club. Like we say every season on this podcast, we're like, oh, I don't even care about Watford anymore. I don't feel that connection at the games. I don't feel the connection between the players. Finally, Clevs comes in, completely like repaints Watford as it is, and now he's being treated like dirt, and it's so unfair. And like I cannot understand where the idea to sack him has come from, for someone who it is just an endless cycle that goes round.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I find it utterly astounding, Ben, that we've seen this week the figures have come out from the Championship of how much Watford have spent compared to other clubs. We're bottom of that list. Like when you've not put any money into a football club this season, and signed players that Cleverley is, quite rightly, in my opinion, able to come out and say that he wants to sign the type of player, you can't expect to be on the cusp of the playoffs when you're bottom of that table, really, realistically, can you?
Not at all. Look, we're all feeling it. We've spent the least amount of money in a Championship, 24th out of 24 teams on spending on transfers in the Championship. Tom Cleverley's came in and kept Watford up after a terrible season under Val, where we potentially could have gone down. That Birmingham game where we got the 3 points was a 6-pointer. We lost that, then we probably would have got relegated last season. And Tom managed to win away from home and kept the clean sheet. And he's not really been backed, and it's frustrating to see. We've all got a massive connection to Tom Cleverley, and it feels like Gino Pozzo has massively shat on all of us. And this is the first real connection we've had with a manager since probably Javi Gracia in that FA Cup season. Since then, it's been manager after manager. There's no connection. Like, fans don't even bother creating songs for the managers because we know they're not going to be here 2 minutes. Whereas Tom's came in, had a role for the under-18s for a couple of months, and was given the option as a Caity manager. Came in, worked wonders, had the pre-season, started the season incredibly well. On a shoestring budget, he's got us to 8th in the Championship as we currently sit. We're very close to being in the playoffs. And Gino's decided to pull the trigger now, when Tom's overachieved on a side that was almost relegated last season. And he's thinking that he needs to pull the trigger now when Tom Cleverley has got Watford to 8th in the table. He's delusional. He runs this club like I don't know, like he's playing FIFA or Football Manager, where it doesn't really matter, but it really does matter. This is the first time. Like, he must have sensed, I'd say he must have sensed the connection between the fans and the team and the players this season, because it's been totally different. But he wouldn't know because he's not been attending games. He's too busy over in Italy caring about them, allowing them signing 20-odd players and spending X amount of money. He really doesn't really care about Watford anymore. All he cares about is trying to get a quick fix from a promotion to the Premier League, so the club's in a more sustainable position, it's more attractive, and then potential buyers will come in. He's tried to make a quick decision because Watford have probably... We've lost our last 3 home games, haven't we? So he's probably being reactionary and being like, shit, I need to change it now because it started to look good. He's got into dreamland thinking, I'm going to make a few quid here. I can probably sell the club in the summer. Whereas now it's probably tailing off a little bit when really he just needs to back Tom, give him the championship experience players that he needs, and then we'll actually be all right. And we'll probably be knocking on the doors in the playoffs. And all he needs is a couple more of experienced heads into this team because he's got the talent. He just needs experienced players. But he wasn't prepared to do that. And this whole debacle about Tipvich as well, honestly, this club is a circus. It really is a circus. And I don't know how you feel about it all, Joe. Like, how do you feel Tom Cleverley's done this season? Like, in your eyes, does he deserve to be sacked? Because he, from the work that he's done, is just... He should be given Championship Manager of the Season with the budget he's been on. He should not be in a position now where he's being fired. And it's all happening already. Like, we're getting messages saying, I've just seen on TalkSport that Watford are going to sack Tom Cleverley, and, you're going to go through another manager. It's fucking tiring.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? The thing that, like you say, annoys me most is he's back in Italy most of the time. Udinese have spent over 20. I'm sure I looked and they spent over 20 or 30 million on players over there. So there's clearly money within the Pozzos that they're spending at another club. Obviously, you know, we've not signed another keeper, but one of them was rumoured that it was a signing that Udinese didn't need, that they signed on a free transfer that they potentially might loan to us. So then we've got a keeper. It's just more shit, really. And I said that right at the beginning of the window when I saw Udinese were going to be signing that keeper, and I just thought, you know, it's just the same garbage. You know, it's just someone. It's no one experienced. It's no one good. It's just another cast off that they're just trying to palm us off with. And going to your question about Cleverley deserving to be sacked, no, he doesn't. Like, there was such a disconnect between the fans and the club when Tom Cleverley came in last season. The fans were ecstatic that someone who loved the club, who's been a captain, that started at the club when he was a youngster, he knows what it means to play for Watford FC. He knows how much the fans love the club. He knows the club inside out. He got us to a point where we were safe from relegation. We had a fantastic, albeit, you know, they weren't wins, but we were hard to beat towards the end of last season. We got ourselves in a great place. You know, you look at people like Imran Louza, for example, that were completely out of the loop at Watford, that have come back in, massively part of this club, showing after every game when they're going towards the fans that they, you know, he loves the club, he loves being part of this team. The fans have got that love back. I've had that love back, even though we've lost. Again, I was at the Cardiff defeat. It was crap. I was there Tuesday night. It was crap. I wasn't coming out. I wasn't saying that Tom needs to be sacked. He shouldn't be sacked. I'm not blaming him. I understand that the Pozzos haven't spent the money. So when the money's not there and the money hasn't been spent, you can't blame the manager. You can't expect to get things out and get promotion out of a team that really the squad isn't good enough to be competing for the playoffs. He's in an unrealistic position in the league. There are teams that I think are below us that have underachieved this year so far, and we're lucky to be where we are. I can't believe that Gino thinks that this is the right move, and if he does pull the trigger, then and like, you know, we've said, it is very, very likely to be happening. What do we do as fans to now voice our anger, our upset, and put our point across to Gino? Caity, I mean, obviously, you know, please, guys, in the comments, you know, it'd be great to see some suggestions, because, like I say, I think from what I've seen on other podcasts that have been talking this evening, a lot of people have been putting ideas across, and I think as fans, you know, we do need to do something. I think that, you know, we all need to come together, and whether it be at Norwich, another game where, you know, whether we don't go to games, do go to games, voice it, not voice it, like that, you know, let's just see what people say. But Caity, what do you think as fans we should do now to put our point across to Gino so he understands just how angry we are?
I do think, like, but a lot of fans said that if Tom Cleverley was to get sacked this season, it would be the final straw for most people. I feel like obviously it's not been great with the Pozzos over the last a couple of years or so, and now Tom Cleverley's been set up to fail. He has been put in as a try and keep the fans on our side, and now you've said as soon as there's a bit of a wobble, which there wouldn't be if they just gave him some money for players, which they have countless times promised at our place thing they did in November. It was promised that there would be money invested into Tom. There was signings already lined up. Like, the constant lies that come out of their mouths is actually sickening. Like, I feel sick when I think about what's going on at Watford right now. All day I've had this like pit in my stomach where like I literally feel like I'm going to be sick because it's just horrible. And I think it is about time that us as fans stand up, and it's not just putting stuff on Twitter and saying we're going to do all this stuff. Like, I love Watford so much and I love going to games, but what's the point in going to games if your club moves backwards every single season? You've got an owner that doesn't even care about your club and won't even invest a couple of £1 million into it to get some good players in. There is no point going to games if this is the standard that we will receive. I would happily give up my season ticket if it proved a point to Gino, to the board, that we care about this club. I would happily, if everyone was genuinely on board with saying, we're not going to go to games, we're going to walk out, we're going to do this, I would be on board with that. And all it takes is a couple of people to start doing it, or a couple of people to create these organizations. You see these protests at other clubs, and it does work, because the only way we're ever going to get heard is if we use our voices. This is our club. It's not Gino's club. I mean, well, it is, but like he's running the club into the ground. It is our club, and we should speak up for what we believe is right. And Gino should have sold the club years ago. He obviously cannot run it properly. And I feel like as fans, it is our duty to now say, right, we've had enough now. And I feel like with the platforms that people have, like YouTube, Twitter, it is time that we all come together and we start standing up for ourselves, because it's not okay the way that this club and us as fans are being treated. We're being lied to our faces. The fact that the club actually posted a thing that said, oh, this was supposed to be released in August, but it wasn't. What do you mean? Like, what do you actually mean it was supposed to be released, but it wasn't? That is so either unprofessional, but it's also just lying. Because Gino's claiming we obviously haven't got any money to sign any players, but now we're happily sacking managers and signing Tikvik on a 4-year deal for like 800k. Like, to me, you're just saying, like, that's spending money on stupid players that we don't need, when you're watching Tom Cleverley struggle and struggle and struggle, and you won't even invest anything into him.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, because, like, you know, it's laughable that we've spent nearly 2 million, Ben, on 2 left-footed centre backs. Obviously, we got a Bonner after, but we bought Caity, obviously, who he was potentially going to be one for the future, and we've got in Tikvik for 800,000. Neither have been anywhere near, really, apart from obviously Tikvik getting the game at Fulham, have done nothing this season, and Caity's gone on a free, and Tikvik has fucked off out on loan. So it's just stupid, isn't it? Like, it's just beggars belief what they're doing when it comes to signing players.
Yeah, for every gem that they find, we have to also recruit 10 awful players. We're just throwing money away. And I know some clubs can get transfers wrong. It can be a difficult thing to do, recruiting the right players, but to get it wrong continuously and having to sign 10 players to get one decent one, it's quite worrying. And for them to have this state-of-the-art scouting system in place, but every time we make a transfer, we have to go over to Udinese to get a loan over. says to me that there's not really a high level scouting network that Watford are allowed to tap into, really, or as frequent as what we'd like. It's really poor, and it's quite upsetting as well that we've got to this place now where all fans are pretty much aligned. I know the voices of Vic are very strong with this now. We've had enough of Gino Pozzo, and we would like him to sell the club, and we'll be putting a statement out either tonight or tomorrow with all of us signing it, or how we feel. But it's sad how we've got to this position now where Gino's tarnished his reputation and legacy at Watford Football Club. Don't get me wrong, but the first 10 years or so was brilliant, and we'll always have those memories, like coming in, making us enjoy Championship football, the style of play we had under Zola, some of the players we had in, like Abdi, Vidra, Forestieri, players that we would have loved to have in our team when we was like struggling to stay in the Championship and being mid-table. Like those kind of players we would have dreamed of having, being promoted and being in the Premier League for 5-6 years and competing. We weren't in relegation battles. We was well adrift of relegation. It's just a shame we switched off towards the end of the season where we could have finished higher in the table. That FA Cup season as well, getting to the final, like memories we'll always remember and hold very highly in our thoughts. But since that moment, since the final whistle, 6-0 away at Wembley against Manchester City, what really has Gino Pozzo done for this football club apart from tarnish?
And that was 6 years ago. It was
exactly
6 years ago. 5-6 years ago. Like,
and all he's done is just tarnished his legacy. And Watford fans think of him totally differently now. Like, if he stepped away from the club after that, Watford fans would have held him in high regard and gone, you know what, he's one of the best owners we probably had. Now, those 6 years, like we've got young fans in this football club, and some fans have probably joined 4 or 5 years ago. I know Cam joined supporting Watford quite late. All they're going to remember now is what Gino Pozzo has done to this football club, as in, we're not a Premier League football club now. We were struggling last season, could have gone down. We're asset stripping. We're struggling financially. We're having to loan players from a feeder club. Like he's just ruined the spirit between the fans and the team. And that's the one that hurts me the most, because we all love Watford. You said about it earlier, Caity. We all love Watford so much. We're all fans at the end of the day, and this is our football club. And it's time now for us as fans to stand up and be united and try our very best to show how disappointed we are and how frustrated and how much we want him to leave the football club. And I get there's people out there saying, well, be careful what you wish for. I know that there's teams out there who've been fucked over massively. You only need to look 40 miles away at Reading and see what's happened to them. And I know it's be careful what you wish for. But I feel like we've got to a situation now where Gino Pozzo can't take Watford Football Club any further, and he needs to actively put the club up for sale and put it out in the papers saying, look, I've done my best for Watford. I can't take them any further. I'm willing to sell up and just take a loss on what is invested into a football club, because that's what's holding back investors at the moment. The football club's only worth about 40-50 million, but you put his debt on top of it, the club's worth 120-130 million. And that's what's putting off people from the outside wanting to come in. Just take a loss on it, or even lower your valuation. Say it's 80 million, take a bit of a loss. Just, you're not interested in Watford anymore. You're really not. And just stop letting the fans suffer, because you're not suffering. We are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, you know, like you said, it after the cup final, it has gone downhill since then, hasn't it? You know, that was probably where the club peaked in terms of its value as well. Getting to the cup final, high league position, it was all great. And then obviously the season after started, and then since then it's just been on a massive decline. You know, it pains me to say, you know, obviously we've had some bad owners over the years. Lawrence Bassini, Graham Simpson. You know, there's been some shocking decisions made by people on the board in previous years, and you know, this is getting to be like up there. Like, you know, when people saw that there was how long ago was it, Ben, that there was rumours that Bassini was going to be back in the fold. Like I kind of half wish that were true, because if anything to get rid of Gino, just to start just something new within the club. But
you know what, I would keep Gino over Bassini. Like I do draw the line at Lawrence Bassini.
But no, in all seriousness, I've been a season ticket holder for over 30 years now, and I've had my seat in the Rookery since we moved from the Vicarage Road end over in '99. And it pains me to say, but if Cleverley is sacked, then we've said as podcasters that we're going to be at the game next week to meet up, because we do pre-organise that, so we'll be there. But after that, I will not be attending another home game for the remainder of the season, and I won't renew my season ticket next year, because I will not put another penny in Gino Pozzo's pocket. I don't care if I lose my seat. I don't care if someone else has it. So be it. If someone else wants it and wants to line his pockets, then that's up to them. But I certainly won't be.
This is it. I think the only way we can hurt Gino Pozzo is by not putting money into a football club, and that's going to be it's going to be painful for all of us, because we love this football club and we want to support the team. We actually got a bit of a connection towards these players, and we want to be there to support them, because it's going to get ugly now. It's going to be really difficult, and when there's lots of bums not on seats, you can see how empty it is, and I'm hoping it will be quite empty, like what we're seeing here in the background. It's going to be difficult for the players, and this is probably the time they probably need the support. But as supporters of this football club, the only way we can hurt Gino Pozzo is not by putting any money in his back pocket. So as hurtful as it is, I think there should come to a time where, even if it's for one game, like a massive boycott, everyone picks a game that they're not going to, and then you show how much we actually dislike the guy at the moment and how much we want him out of the football club. I think that's probably the best way to move forward at the moment.
Yeah, well, I've as I said, as we came on, and I was listening to the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes, and I can't remember who it was now, came on and said that the perfect game to do that would be Luton at home. As painful as that would be, that we're not there to support the boys in what is regarded as our biggest home game of the season, that is the perfect game for us to not turn up as fans and to see empty stands, and Gino to go, shit, this is our biggest game of the season for the fans, and no one's here. They're clearly upset.
It would hurt, but it would be the only way of getting the message across, and that would be national as well. Everyone would pick up on it. Local derby against Luton. Imagine if it was picked for Sky Sports as well, and everyone tuned in going, "Oh, Watford are playing Luton today. It's put on Sky Sports." They're like, "What on earth's happened to Vicarage Road? Why is it so empty?" That's a great shout. It would hurt not to attend that game, because that's the game you want to win. But I think Watford would sacrifice Watford fans would sacrifice not turning up, Luton potentially getting the upper hand and winning that game for us to be able to get Gino Pozzo out of the football club.
Yeah, I would quite happily, if Luton beat us 2 or 3-0, it wouldn't, as painful as it would be that Luton beat us, I wouldn't give a shit. If it started the ball rolling for Gino Pozzo to leave this football club and for someone else to come in and buy him things to move forward, then so be it. Like, if that has to happen, it has to happen. If people were voicing their concerns and they didn't turn up it was decided that we wouldn't turn up, or we would just, I don't know, walk out after, let's just say, 60 minutes of games moving forward. We were just there for an hour, and then the stadium was empty for the last half hour. Whatever we do, we need to all come together, and it needs to be a unified thing that we do, because if only 100 fans or 70 fans or 200 fans do it, there's no point. We need to, it's in our thousands, in the Sir Elton John stand, the family stand, the Anne Swanson stand, I should say, the Graham Taylor stand and the Rookery. We need to all come together, and we just need to, whether we voice it, so be it. If we need to just chant all game and just that he needs to sell, he needs to leave, we hate him, whatever, so be it.
Caity, can I just say as well, I think that, I know we talk about how the fans would need, the players would need support, but I can't help but feel like the players probably feel the same way. They love Tom. Like, I can't imagine how they're feeling in
how
comparison
do you
to
think? Yeah,
this.
I was just gonna say, Katie, how do you think that like Matty Pollock is feeling right now,
Yeah,
or Quadro Bar? Like
yeah,
these are people who have flourished under Tom Cleverley. Like Tom Cleverley's given them the opportunity and the confidence and the arm around the shoulder, going, you know what, you are good enough to play at this level. Go out there
mhm,
and show them that you're worth this standard of football. And like, how do you think they're feeling right now?
exactly. And I feel like, I mean, obviously, I would never want them to play bad, but like, you
Mm.
know, I can't see them now suddenly trying really hard for this new manager when Cleverley, who's like you said, got the best out of them, who is also their friend and has taken us to our highest position in years, has now just been completely thrown under the bus. I mean, it's a really tough situation for them as players, and I really worry that I can't really see the players bouncing back from this either, regardless of if the new manager's amazing. You know, people like Vata and Georgie and Pollock and everyone who's been taken under his wing is now losing the person who's almost kick-started their career.
Yeah, I think, the thing that annoys me most as well is that, Andrew French has said it, other people that work at the club have said it. The happiness among the players when they're turning up on a match day is a completely different vibe to anything over the last few seasons, where it's been quite subdued. People have looked miserable, quite down. No one's really interacted with fans or whatever. Is a completely different feel about the club. And the fact that Tom Cleverley's got these, the backroom staff that he has, including Paul Robinson, he's done things the way he wants, and we've got that connect back with the club. For them to do this is just completely removing that, and we're back to square one. The big question is, and I was thinking this on my way back from walking home from the train station a short while ago, is would Ben you sacrifice a place in the Championship? And obviously the players are, like you say, how are they going to be feeling? They've got this love for a guy that's looking at, that's managing the club and managing them. They're going to be really disappointed that he's out the door, because they're obviously trying as hard as they can. They're showing that to an extent with their league position being in 8th position. Teams are obviously catching up. You only have to look at teams like QPR that have gone on an unbelievable run since we played them at home in November to only be 3 points behind us. It just shows you how tight the league is. If Tom does go, we could potentially start tumbling down the league. Could a relegation be the thing that really gets Gino out the door?
Yes.
I don't know. I think he's a very stubborn man. So yeah, it's a difficult one. And would I take relegation to try and get him out? As painful as it is, probably yeah. Look, it would be a massive hit for Watford Football Club to get relegated down to League One. I remember when I first started supporting Watford and we was at that level. I think we just got relegated down to that division. I think Muzzy Izzet scored and Watford got relegated down. And then that famous game away at Fulham, the pitch invasion, I was there for us to get promoted to the Championship. So we've been there before and we've bounced back and we've flourished and got to the top level again. So we can get back there. It potentially could take a long time. There's big teams down there that are struggling. You only just need to look at Bolton Wanderers, a team that probably very similar to us if we look at it. They went to a Prem for about 5-6 years and were decent, even qualified for Europe, and then they just slowly tailed off with like not having much investment, and then went down to the Championship, and then no investment again, went down to League One, change of ownership and all that. So it will be very difficult, but I don't know. I just think he's very stubborn, and he wants X amount of money, and I think he will carry on having Watford because he'll think, oh, it's all right. I'll just keep sacking the manager left, right, and centre, and that one manager will get a tune out of the players, and then we'll get promoted again, and then I need to find another manager. Then we'll get promoted again. And we're back in the Premier League. He just honestly, he thinks he's playing Football Manager.
Yeah, he does. And I think, yeah, he just needs to kind of get that out of his head, doesn't he? That no matter how many times you change a manager, it's not gonna make things better. Like, it just isn't. And you know, Caity, I kind of mentioned briefly before we came on about how many managers we've had. Obviously, I think we're over. I'm sure someone did put in actually before that it's like 19 managers. I'm sure it's a bit more than that. Over 20 managers, I think it is in total if you include like caretakers. Clearly changing managers so frequently is not helping the club, and he just, you know, whether if he does see all this stuff that we're doing and decide to change his mind and it doesn't happen, like, it just, we can't keep going in this circle, can we? It's got to stop at some point.
Yeah, and it makes me embarrassed to be a Watford fan because, you know, as soon as these stuff comes out, everyone's like, oh, Watford, they're so unserious. Like, how are they just sacking managers? And it happens every time we sack someone. There's always comments. You get the stick from everyone talking about, you know, just this constant cycle of managers. And I just think the money that we must spend, like, apparently I saw on Twitter we're still paying Val for when he was here, and it's like, you know, it's crazy, and we're screaming at having some money for transfers, but we don't have any because we're spending it all on paying off managers or paying for new managers, and we're not even just paying off recent ones, we're paying off, you know, 2-3 before. And I honestly, like, it cannot go on like this anymore. And the only way, like everyone is saying in the comments, like you guys have said, is that we have to do something to hurt him back, to show that we are serious about our club, and to not let him get away with this, because it's sickening. Like, it's actually sickening that what he's doing to this club, and this would not be allowed at any other club. And for too many years now, we have sat and watched it happen, and it is about time now that we say, Gino, you cannot just keep sacking managers like this. You cannot keep running the club into the ground. We want our club back, and we want to see our club succeed, do well, not be in debt every year, not have you lie to our faces as fans. Be honest with us. Say, yeah, actually, we are in debt and we can't afford this. Because if we go to these fan chats and you're saying, you know, the one me and Ben went to that couple summers ago, they were like, yeah, the João Pedro deal is going to pay off our last debt that we ever have. And I understand that running a football club is not cheap and you are very unlikely to make money, but we have sold players. None of that money has ever gone back into the club, ever. We have not seen any of that money. So where is it going? Straight into Gino's pocket. You know, and it's so, like, it's actually disgusting watching how much money is going into Udinese, because why? Oh, you just forgetting about us. If you don't want to be our owner, that's fine. Sell the club. Like, you can just say, put your hands up and say, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I'd rather just have one. Like, that's fine. Just do that. But he is neglecting us, and it is not okay.
No, I think it's like fairly evident, Ben, isn't it, that, I mean, let's be honest, the real reason that he's not spent any money in January, he's not backed Tom Cleverley, is because he's clearly, at this point, I'm not saying it was from the start of January, but at this point in January, we're, what are we now, 8, 9, 10 days from the window closing at this point now. He's clearly not given any money to Tom, because the money that he probably has got is he's looking at this point to pay Tom off, isn't he? So it's not going to be spent on players. It's going to be spent on sacking another manager.
supposedly he has the pot to the side where he kind of has for managerial changes. From what I saw on Twitter earlier, he kind of has that little, he's got that safe in the corner where he knows that he can dive into at any moment whenever he's unhappy with his manager, and he's just getting the combination numbers ready to open it up to give Tommy his money. But I think the money issue, like, yes, we've had lots of profit. Just going back on what Caity was saying, we've had lots of profit on player sales lately. But unfortunately, with the running of the football club over the last, I'd say about 9-8 years, Watford were trying to punch above their weight when we was in the Premier League, and we was trying to overspend. And you can just look at the examples of the amount of money we spent on Andre Gray and Ismail Assar. Even Scott Duxbury alluded to it in an interview by saying that Watford lost their way. We weren't really trying to find these gems and then sell them on for big fees. We was trying to punch above our weight by spending 18 million on Andre Gray, 30 million on Ismail Assar, and we didn't really have that money. And we was trying to we're trying to buy the success, and we kind of lost our way a little bit, and we got ourselves into massive amount of debt. And if people wanted to have a look into the accounts a bit more, I'll point you in the direction of the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes accounts podcast with Pete and Justin from the other day. And they talk about it perfectly. And like, we was in really dire straits with the debt. And with all the gems that we've had recently, like the João Pedros, the Ismail Kones, and the list goes on. Yes, we've made a lot of money out of that, and we've not seen that money being reinvested into a football club. But that's literally gone into try and get the debt down. And to give them a little bit of credit, they have got the debt down quite a bit in the last 2-3 seasons. But they shouldn't have put the football club in this position. And that's what's hurt us at the moment. It's the mismanagement at the top from Gino Pozzo and Scott Duxbury by authorising these massive sales at like £30 million. Watford Football Club spending £30 million on one player, on a player that Javi Gracia didn't even want. He didn't need. We was playing, what formation was we playing under Javi Gracia? Wasn't it 4-4-2, Joe? Like, we didn't have wingers.
Yeah,
so,
it was just,
and we were playing Will Hughes as right midfield. Like, we didn't need a right winger. We just needed a right midfielder and put Hughesy in the middle. So Javi Gracia didn't even want him. And this is an example of Gino just does what he wants. And this is what he's doing again. Like, the appointment of Tom Cleverley was a Scott Duxbury appointment, just like the Rob Edwards appointment was a Scott Duxbury appointment. But whenever Gino's like not fancying it, he pulls the trigger and goes, you know what, this is my football club. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to get some guy over from Moldova, or I'll get someone from Israel, or I'll get someone from Georgia. And he just tries to throw his dice and see what happens. But it's for mismanagement at the top. But really, this is like put the final foot in the coffin for Gino Pozzo. Like, he's just ran his course now.
Yeah, it has, and like you say, there's we could list so many players. I mean, that have come through the door that have just not even done anything, just not featured. I don't even know what you'd even say in some of
Uncle Ron's favourite player, Uncle Ron's favourite Argentinian, Paceto. The only thing he did was clear the ball off the line against Tottenham Hotspur, and then was shipped out to Indonesia for a couple of seasons, and then he never turned up for pre-season, but it was still on the books. And then one day we just paid him off, and it was just like, brilliant. That was a great amount of money wasted on him. Yes. Who else we had? Obi Ulua. Who is it? Obi Ulua.
Obi Ulua, you signed for like $7.5 million, wasn't it?
Yeah. Pendaranda as well. Remember him?
Yeah.
Like, the amount of money we spent on these players, like, it's just.
But then you even look at like obviously you're now flicking back over the transfer windows now, recent ones, and it's like you look at the summer and you think, did we even back in the summer? I'm probably sure we all rated it quite highly, and I think we said it was a good window. But come January, we're realizing, apart from Cam. But now January, we're realizing, okay, maybe the only good signing we made was Vata. Everyone else, left, sold, loaned, injured. Like, it's about if Gino was in a proper position to take this club forward. If he is looking to sell the club and wants to get it at its highest value, this would have been the perfect season. You've got Tom Cleverley, attractive manager, young, good, and English, knows the league, played, whatever. You've then got some really good players. We've got people like Georgie, Batter, that's about it. Yeah, but like, we have got attractive players. We only needed, I mean, bar the injuries that have come in the recent weeks, we only needed 3-4 strong players to come in January, and we could have seriously pushed for playoffs. And regardless of if we got promotion or not, it would have put Gino in the best position to sell in the summer. All he is doing now is unwinding that. And I know we haven't spoken much about this new guy who's coming in, but I don't know if you guys feel the same, if anyone else feels the same, but personally for me, I don't really care. Like, I'm not gonna obviously, if he becomes a manager, I'll support him, but he has to earn our support. If Gino's bringing him in to take us to the Premier League because he's so experienced, I've got some guy in my DMs telling me that he's really hardworking and he's going to be the best manager for us, I'm like, all right. But like, for me, I just do not care. And I know that other fans will probably feel the same. God help this guy, because he's coming into a place where it's already very toxic. And if Cleverley actually goes, I just won't care about the club the rest of the season. If we finish in playoffs, if we finish bottom, if we get relegated, I just won't care at all, because that's just the position that we're in now, where it's at the point where it's like, realistically, who actually cares now what happens, because we just know it's going to be a repeat cycle of everything that's happened over the last couple of years. If we went up, we'd probably do the same. If we get relegated, I don't know. Gino, I just think the main underlying point is Gino does not care. He does not care about the club unless it genuinely starts hurting his pocket. Like, for example, if we all say, yeah, next season no one renew their season tickets, that's going to hurt. If we stop going to games, if we walk out, if we look bad on, TV games, that's going to look bad. But until we start doing stuff like that, he probably doesn't even care, and he's probably laughing at us thinking, like, lol, they thought Cleverley was the next big thing. Like, I honestly, like, I feel so bad for Tom. Like, it's genuinely heartbreaking. And I hope if he goes somewhere, he does so good. I'm going to support whatever club he goes to, hope that he goes on and just, like, lives his best life, because he needs to get away from this club because they've treated him like shit.
You know what, Caity? Tom Cleverley's a faithful and Gino Pozzo's a traitor.
Gino Pozzo is the biggest traitor I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's you know what, it's very well said. And one thing that on Do Not Scratch Your Eyes, someone said that what a good thing to do would be, although it's committing technically a criminal offence, is a pitch invasion. Obviously, it's happened at certain clubs, Reading, I think Oldham. Trying to think, I'm sure I've seen another couple of clubs over the last few seasons where it's happened. But the club will get fined, the club will get in trouble for something like that, and that will hurt Gino. So is a pitch invasion in? I think someone suggested like doing it in like the 5th minute. Don't know why the 5th. I mean, it could be another, but just if
I think it was the 8th.
Oh, was it the 8th?
Cleverley's number.
Oh, okay, 8 then. Yeah, perfect. even better. But if all of us, if there was thousands that streamed the pitch and forced the players to go off, and we didn't move, and we voiced our concerns from the centre circle, is that the right way forward? Who knows? I don't know.
Chain ourselves to the goal.
It's not even that. I mean, if 2,000, 3,000 people on the pitch, are they going to ban 3,000 people? Realistically, no. Like, I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Ban me, please, so I don't have to watch.
Like, I think it's what, a two-year ban, is it, for a pitch encroachment these days, or 3-year ban? Like, could you accept being banned from Vicarage Road for 3 years? I mean, if Gino's not going to leave, then I'll take the 3 years.
Yeah, to be fair, it's it might be worth for 2-3 years off. It's been mentally draining. It might be a nice little holiday for ourselves. And look, it's so accessible to watch games now anyway, where if you're not attending the games at Vicarage Road, it doesn't mean you're not watching a game. People are pretty much watching it at home anyway. So people will still be watching. But yeah, it's just very sad to be a Watford fan at the moment, because we thought we kind of turned a corner. Clevs was kind of approaching a year of being in charge, especially like being caretaker manager, and was like, okay, we're actually going somewhere. If only he was backed in a transfer market, give him the tools what he wants. We've just had we had to set up a GoFundMe page earlier in the season everyone was getting in, like sending in 50 quid for shares. Like, where's all that money disappeared to at the moment? And was like, we was all promised it's all going to go towards the team to improve the team. It's just going into that safe in the corner, Joe, where Pozzo keeps his money for all his managerial changes, and it's a joke. I'm running out of words.
He's sat on a yacht somewhere, actually watching this, laughing his head off with a champagne.
Yeah,
look, just stop Gino.
Stroking a pussycat going.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Yeah, I mean, I was good. I did have some points to obviously just talk about the game the other night, but I don't think it's even worth it. I think, as fans, I think just as fans, it was, but you know what? Like, I didn't come out. I wasn't angry at Tom. I wasn't angry anything like that, and was calling for a sacking, because it's just not what's needed at this football club, and stability is what's needed. And the stability again is about to get pulled from the football club. So, I think behind the scenes over the next, I don't know, Ben, what do you reckon? Over the next sort of 3-4 days, there's probably going to be discussions had among people for doing something for games moving forward.
I imagine so. I don't think it'd be too long, and then I don't know who's going to organise bits and pieces, but I know we're definitely aligned to go along with everyone else, because I know lots of people get thrown at lots of accusations get thrown at people like ourselves, because we have a platform, we're podcasters. Everyone's always anti-podcasters, but at the end of the day, we are fans of this football club, and we do love this football club, and we are aligned with everyone. So whatever is going to be decided amongst people, whether that is some podcasters get together and decide to do something similar to what Do Not Scratch Your Eyes helped with Palachi Gino, whether it's something like that, we'll be fully behind it and we'll back it. And like I said earlier, but we are going to put out a statement later on expressing our disgust at what's happening and asking for change, because enough is enough, and we can't keep on acting like this, because it's beyond a joke. Just quickly before I pass it back to you, Joe, for Watford Observer, when they put up their article earlier, they actually put a poll on the very bottom of it. I don't know if you saw it, guys. I just wanted to read out how many votes have been casted so far and the percentage of the votes. Andrew French put this up earlier. He said, would you be in favour in Pozzo sacking Tom Cleverley? As we stand now at 8:26 p.m, there's been 2,210 votes casted. 97% have said no, that they are not in favour of the sacking of Tom Cleverley, and that just speaks volumes.
Yeah,
it does. And you know what? I think it's quite important, for any kind of media outlets that watch that come to see any of these podcasts, whether it's ours, whether it's another one that's done. I know people like Emma Saunders, Kelly Summers, and people like that who have been connected with the club over the years. And I know people have said Elton's not got an obligation to do anything, but I'm pretty sure that he's probably seeing what's going on, and I'm pretty sure he will pick up. I'm pretty sure he'll pick up the phone to Tom and he'll say how pissed off he is with what's gone on. Whether he has a say he can have a say in what goes on, and he can intervene in any way. who knows? I'm not asking him to. I'm not begging him to. He doesn't have to. Like Mike said before, or someone said before, he doesn't. He's not tied to the club in that way anymore. But he damn well cares about this club, and I'm sure he's going to be just as bothered about this, because he, Cleverley, as I said earlier on, knows the values of this football club, and it knows what it means to manage this football club.
Chris Stark tweeted earlier as well, guys. He said, I will be gutted if they sack Tom Cleverley. Really hope this isn't true. And he's obviously got quite a big platform as well in it, and is a very famous Watford fan as well. So it's just everyone's aligned, aren't they, with how they feel about Tom Cleverley and the potential of sacking him. And if he is going to be given one last game at the weekend against Coventry, I just hope that all the travelling Hornets fully get behind Tom Cleverley, and whether there's a bit of protest there, or if there's banners or something in the crowd, I hope it just is a peaceful one. And look, we're not promoting anything like physical or anything like that, or abusive towards Gino Pozzo. Like, you can voice your opinions, but let's not draw the line here, okay? Let's not overstep that mark. We need to do this sensibly, and we need to do it collectively. So I will just say that, because I know there'll be some people who'll be like, oh, we'll just knock on his door and we'll do this, we'll do that. It's like, no, let's just use our heads and let's think about this and do this sensibly. And together we can make change happen. And it will be a very rocky road, but I believe that we can come out of this stronger.
Hopefully. I do think as well.
Yeah, go on, Caity.
Sorry. I do think as well, like, it's very easy to go to games and watch a bad performance and blame the players, but you just, as fans, we just have to start pointing our frustration and our anger towards the hierarchy, because it is not Tom's fault. And I'd even go as far as saying it's not the players' fault, because who got those players in? Who said, you can see, we know that Cleverley hasn't asked for many of these players. We all know that it's just what he's been given. Cleverley openly said that Jefferson was fifth choice over who he wanted. Like, it isn't even Jefferson's fault that he was here. That's what he's been given by people like Gino and Scott and everyone else up there. And it's just going back to that group that sit at the top of the club. And it is about completely shifting the anger from everything. It's easy to get frustrated at people like Sissoko and Backman and whoever.
Why did you bring his name up?
Oh, sorry. It is not their fault. It is all to do with the people who are running this football club. And I think as fans, we just have to start directing our anger towards them, because it's not Cleverley and it's not the players.
Yeah, and I think, as I said before about like the media guys, if they see things and can repost and just put it out there so that we're recognised, not ourselves specifically, but just everybody, and everything that is done the right way, so that everyone around the country can see just how much we want this to happen. We want Gino gone out of the club, and like I say, like Ben said, we don't condone any violence. We don't condone anyone, being really abusive towards the situation. Things need to be done the correct way. And like I say, I'm sure over the next few days, there'll be a lot said over Twitter and things, and us as fans will come together and we'll do it peacefully in the right way. But yeah, just finishing, like I say, we're Ben, like you said, hopefully you'll be at the game next week, but us as Voices of the Vic, we will be at the Norwich game next week. Being a 12:30 kickoff, I'm not sure that we will potentially have much time before the game to meet up and stuff and see people. But if anyone's around after, and we'll probably put something somewhere as to where we're meeting. If people want to come and say hi and have a drink or whatever, then always welcome, and always good to see everybody at a game. But we just want to thank everybody for tuning in this evening. The numbers have been great. It's been great seeing all the comments, everyone's opinions, and I'm sure Tom would, be proud to see the love for him, and that that people are putting forward. So yeah, thanks ever so much for tuning in this evening. We will be back on Sunday, whether it be to discuss Tom leaving the game for Coventry away at the weekend. But we will be back, and like I say, do tune in, and thanks ever so much for tuning in this evening. But come on, you Horns, come on, Tom.